What was your last "I never want this to end" moment? I volunteered to be an overnight chaperone for a school camp my son was going to. The kids had been there all day and my son hadn't really told any I'd be their cabin chaperone. I was waiting in their cabin when they came back from some activities to plan a skit for the evening. As they started coming in the cabin, a couple saw me and ran over to give me a hug and started high-fiving each other that I was the adult for the night. Each kid coming in got more excited and the ones that didn't know me had the ones that did, explaining that I'm like the coolest guy. I had coached a bunch of them in Little League and helped out a few of them previously in Scouts. For the entire time I was there, I had at least one kid coming to tell me about something cool, and the entire time they were very respectful to each other. One kid said something a bit mean to another and one of the other boys said, "Better stop that. Mr. Unforgettable won't let you act like that." One of the best nights of my life was just hanging out with a bunch of 14-year-old boys, making sure they didn't get in trouble. The whole time I was reading this I was picturing some cute little 4th graders or something. Then I get to the end and find out they're in high school. I had one of these moments while visiting my parents a couple weeks ago. My mother has had Alzheimer's for the past few years, and while she has always been extremely affectionate, it's like that part of her personality has just disappeared. I never realized how much I enjoyed her constant loving affection until I didn't have it any longer. She started a new medication a while ago that has really been helping her confusion. So while we were visiting, she walked past me and placed her hand on my head for a moment, then smiled and began to stroke my hair and placed her hand on my cheek and told me she loved me so much. It was a really beautiful moment for me. I just wanted to say thank you to everyone for your thoughts and kind words, and also I really appreciate you sharing your own experiences too. I hope the day comes where no one will have to watch a loved one suffer through this disease as we have. Oh, and just for a little background, my mom's name is Sue. She is 76 years old and loves to garden. She can look at a plant and it will bloom. She accidentally grew a tomato plant in a crack in the driveway once. She met the Queen of England while on vacation. She learned to water ski on her 50th birthday. One time she slapped a man in the face because his son had beat me up and he didn't sound sorry enough about it. She once got pulled over doing 110 in her brother's Hemi Cuda. She said she was trying to get it to 115 to win a bet when she saw the blue lights. She baked me every birthday cake I ever had. Giant 3 or 4 layer monster cakes in whatever colors I liked at the time. She has been hilarious and fun and crazy and loved me and my family hard. This next part is gonna be rough, but we've all got her back, so we are just gonna have to love her through it. This is beautiful. Alzheimer's is inhumanly cruel to everybody in the family. I'm sorry you all have to go through this. Modern science is closing in on treatments, so that's exciting. And I'm really glad your mom's new meds gave you an amazing moment. Some years ago, I went to the park with a friend, and we walked all around the park and got on the swings for a little while. I mentioned to her that I never got on the swings as a kid because I was scared of falling off. She found it really funny that a guy in his early 20s had never got on the swings in his life. We had so much fun at that park. At that moment, I thought, if this is the last thing I ever do, it would be okay. This is really simple and beautiful. Holding hands with my son yesterday. He's 9, so I know these days are numbered and I just want to stretch out every moment. I keep doing this with my daughter. She's old enough to walk without me holding her hand, but we do it anyways. Last year in the fall, I had 3 days of just pure peace like I'd never experienced before or after, but at the time I did not want it to end. I felt like a cloud. Not too happy or sad, just content. I was living every moment with my son of 5 years and nothing bothered me even the slightest. I know exactly what you mean. Exactly. Same thing happened to me, but I was sitting in my car. Just this beautiful peace, like floating in water. It was sublime. I could have stayed like that forever. In the summer of 2016, I took my wife and kids to Disney World. My 6-year-old daughter was on cloud 9 the entire time we were there. Her reaction to Disney World made all the cost and travel stress worth it. I swear summer 16 was the peak for everyone. I was sitting next to a friend of mine. We were sharing earbuds listening to her music, talking about plans for college, uni, and making plans so I could show her around a city she hadn't seen before, and sharing a genuine moment. I felt truly happy, which is always a gift. Probably being on vacation in a completely new city for the past 2 weeks. That feeling of excitement in a new place combined with not having responsibilities of work was an incredible combination. Saturday morning, when my dog, just adopted him last month, crawled up on my bed and put his head right on my chest and we just snuggled. That plus winter makes it impossible to leave my bed. When they start to trust you is the most beautiful feeling. Last week, I went down to the beach with some friends to watch the total lunar eclipse. We sat on a playground structure that was there and just spent like an hour watching the eclipse and chatting, and it was amazing. Granted, we were all freezing our asses off by the end, so there's that. I did the same thing. My parents have a small roof deck, so I went up on that and just watched the moon and the skyline of the city. There's something so blissful about being outside at night, freezing cold, and just living in the moment. I know it's cheesy, but the feeling of being loved. I am single now and what I wouldn't give for a girl to give me that look or just a hug and you know that you are loved and cared for. Can't beat that feeling. Just got broken up with like a week ago and this is too real x 1000. Thanks. Hanging out with my high school friends every day last summer before going off to college. Especially the moments where we would just drive around at night for a couple hours. Those were the best. I just went back in time to this period in my life. 16 years ago, but remember it like it was last summer. Driving around in my buddy's conversion van, blasting music, laughing our asses off, feeling like we were on top of the world almost every night. Got a really warm and fuzzy feeling thinking about it. Almost brought happy tears to my eyes. And now I don't want it to end. Thank you for this. I tried skiing for the first time this weekend. And I never wanted the feeling of successfully making it down a hill without eating it to end. So humbling yet satisfying. I've been skiing 3 times and have yet to know that feeling outside of the little training hill. Me and my girlfriend were spooning in her bed after watching Chicago on Netflix and she was just running her fingers up and down my spine and kissing my back. One time my wife was doing that and I accidentally farted on her LMAO. This is gonna sound lame as frick, but when I last talked to the person I liked, I don't know what it is, but it just took me out of sad boy hours and into happy boy hours. Happy boy hours are the best boy hours. Yesterday when me and my so were watching TV, having a chill Sunday, we curled up in the sofa. The moment I realized she was falling asleep, that's the moment I would never want to end. I love this. There's something about having my so cuddled up to me while we're watching whatever we're watching and she slowly starts breathing deeper and drifting off. That just makes me feel so happy. My 6-month-old daughter cuddled up on my chest sleeping while I took a nap. Hearing her humming all content is the best feeling. I have 2 6-month-old cats, not the same, but can confirm they will cuddle up on you and purr like no other. Good feeling. Definitely better with a being of your own species, though. It was a while ago, but I met very nice woman. She's the first person to make me feel excited for life. It was surprising too. I didn't think she'd be my type. She had a daughter and religion was very important to her. We'd go on talking for hours and our faces would be sore from how much we'd smile the whole time together. The bad times were worth every moment too. Eventually, due to complicated circumstances, we had to separate. It wasn't on bad terms, but it felt abrupt and unnecessary. We were still very much in love at the time. I'm sure it was a hard decision for her, but those moments were the only instance where I think immortality wouldn't be a curse. Waking up after I fell asleep on the BF's chest, he and I fell asleep watching Hulu. It was snowing outside and there was that nice cozy early dawn feel where you know you can go back to bed because it's Saturday. The kitten was curled up in the bend of my legs. I wish that was my morning again RN. This one is by far my favorite. Watching the moon go down and the sun come up on New Year's Day with an old friend. We had reconnected in a romantic way over the holidays, and that was when she told me she loved me. She lives in a different city, so I can always feel the time slipping away when she's around. It was an unexpected and beautiful moment for both of us. We were training to go to Iraq, February 2004, and I had gotten the day's required training done the day before. It was a 2-day training event. Myself and my SSG both had basically nothing to do that morning, so I just got coffee and enjoyed the silence of the morning. Just me, my coffee, and my thoughts. The lack of stress that morning just gave me an overwhelming sense of calm. Holding my 7-month-old son as he falls asleep on me. I don't know how many more cuddles I have left before he's too big to cuddle with his dad. Kids grow up too quickly. This weekend my girlfriend and I took my dog to the park around sunset. She was wearing this beautiful white dress, and we hiked around a trail for a short while before cresting a hill, where we saw probably the most gorgeous sky and sunset I've seen in years. We sat and frolicked and cuddled as it got dark. I held her and we sat there in silence, the wind blowing gently upon the grass. I told her this moment felt important. We didn't get into it, but I meant what I said. I felt completely and totally in love, at peace. My problems, my anxiety, my selfish desires all disappeared, and as I realized all of this, I knew I never wanted this moment to end. I told her this moment felt important. My heart. I am a guy. Sex should be the answer. Normally it is the answer, but in this case, if this is how I define my version of heaven, it's that random moment when I'm kneeling down interacting with my 2-year-old daughter, and my wife comes crawling over and gives me a hug, and in the middle of that hug, my 2-year-old wedges herself in between us, so now we are all face to face having a group hug. If there is a heaven, and it is an eternity of a moment that for me is filled with love and happiness, it is that hug, in that moment. I know it sounds cliche, but I knew there was a time coming where I wouldn't pick my daughter up again. I miss those days. Picking her up from her crib. She's almost 10 now. I enjoy each chapter but really miss those baby days. Hit the gym. Don't let your dreams die. The day night I proposed. My work schedule is freaking brutal. Graveyards, 9-hour shifts, 5 days a week. So my days off mostly consisted of catching up on sleep and running errands. Fortunately, there was a dull moment which was luckily a few days before our anniversary. I had the money and time, so we spent a night out, eating at a newfound favorite local pizza joint, went to a hockey game and walked around looking at Christmas lights. I popped the question and now I'm getting married. Congrats on getting hitched, Ewington College. Pretty much every D&D session, my friends and I just started playing about 2 months ago and meet up almost every week. It's the best part of my week whenever we meet up. These are the kind of answers I come here for. Laughing with friends about a story you're all telling together is the best feeling in the world. A few weeks ago I was snowed in with my boyfriend and we made what we call a boat. We pushed together the couches in his living room and fill it with blankets and pillows. It was the best because he was supposed to work that day but his job closed, so we spent the entire day in the boat watching horror movies, drinking hot cocoa, and cuddling as the snow piled up outside. My college friends and I used to do this but we called it a nest. They really should make round enclosed couches. Have you ever hugged someone you loved and just felt so warm and safe? Yep, that's normally a moment I wish I could freeze. So I've been single for the better part of 2 years and just recently I just met this girl on New Year's Eve. We seemed to hit it off, so a mutual friend set us up. We've been on a few dates and this past Saturday she came over to my house and we just hung out in my room for the whole night. We talked, cuddled, made out and just enjoyed each other's company. Around 1 AM ish we decided to go to bed. She told me she normally pushes people away when she sleeps with them, so she apologized in advance in case it happens. I held on to her the whole night and she barely moved. I didn't want to get up in the morning at all, I just wanted to lay with her forever. We have such a great connection and I hadn't felt that close to someone in a while. This will get completely buried, but mine was a hug I got from a good friend in college. We were saying goodbye at the end of our freshman year. I hugged her, and she hugged back, and right when it felt like she was starting to pull out of the hug, gave me an extra squeeze and we held each other for just a little bit longer. If you were to fast forward 6 months, you would see us officially get together as a couple, and we dated for just over a year. I still think about that relationship a lot. and most of it is fondly, but the thing I remember more than anything is that hug, and that extra second that we held it. We weren't together yet, and hadn't started courting each other at all, but it is still the best memory of her that I have. I never wanted that extra second to end. Last night actually, I rekindled a friendship a few days ago with a girl I've had a crush on for years. I even took her on a date once in high school. Come to find out, she hasn't said it directly, but from our conversations it led me to believe that she too had a crush on me. So I took her on a date-ish thing last night and it was the best 2 hours of my life. I could have sat there with her forever just talking and looking into her eyes as I listened to her speak. A kiss with a particular ex-girlfriend. Till this day she still has the softest and most luscious lips I've ever tasted. Not to mention her technique was flawless. Last Saturday I was in the cinema watching the Spider-Verse movie on LSD with a girl I used to date. I loved so much being near her, enjoying that awesome movie, in that comfy seat. I would be watching that movie with her at my right side for all the eternity. Camp. On the Cannonball River, last weekend in October, 100 drums playing and fires burning and 1,000 people laughing and singing. I felt like I had stepped back in time and muscle memory and DNA was pushing something up from within I hadn't felt in a long time, if ever. Pride. This thread reminds me of a Jim Butcher quote from White Knight, and if you're very, very lucky, there are a very few blazing hot little pains you feel when you realize that you are standing in a moment of utter perfection, an instant of triumph, or happiness, or mirth which at the same time cannot possibly last, and yet will remain with you for life. Cuddling my ex while she slept on my chest, while I chain smoked and drank wine. She had PTSD and didn't sleep well, either that, or when just about to orgasm. Are you a character in a book? Last weekend at the airport when I was hugging my so before she left to travel for 10 weeks. We have only been together for slightly more than 2 months, so I didn't think I would take it that badly, but these past 5 days have been horrible. I know it's not the same, but thank God for FaceTime. Last weekend my BF got a day off, and we starting the day with some beers in the bed. We talked a lot, cuddles, and later we listened to music, sang Toto while he played the guitar. There was no stress that day, no worries and no anxiety. It was an awesome day that I wish never would end. A little hungover the next day though, but it was worth it. I was reading a book that was so engaging that I slowed down because I didn't want it to end. The Story of Edgar Sortel, by David Rablowski. I have done this before to a point where I just won't finish a book and leave it there with less than 100 pages. Cuddling with my long distance boyfriend. I have a lot of anxiety about our relationship and whether he wants to be with me since I primarily show affection through being close and touching and we're 9 hours away. Every time I see him I close my eyes and try to remember the moment for later. I really miss him, but know it's going to be a while before we can see each other. Almost a year ago when I shared my first kiss and had sex with someone I loved for the first time. As things go, feelings weren't mutual. Now I just want my life to end. Hang in there buddy. 3. Went to a party on an island 3 years back. Music was perfect, waves were crashing, the women were phenomenal. I was perfectly under the influence. Magic. No shoes on, no shirt, sunglasses and no worries. My last moment, the last conversation I had with this girl I really liked. Whenever she would come over we'd just sit on my bed for hours and talk and joke about everything. She would always say she had to get home but would never leave before 3/4 am. She was going through some very rough patches and wasn't ready for a relationship when I was. I told her I would stick around and we'd work through it together, or whatever I could do at least, and just be there to support a friend first and relationship. Hopefully. Later. Had just had a whole day together. Saw her in a beautiful dress for a charity function I run. It was amazing. Then we went back to my place and stayed up until 4 am. Unfortunately, a few months after I realized this relationship was a one-way street. I was exhausting myself to be there for her and she gave me little in return. I had the talk with her, putting it all on the table. Told her I have to focus on bettering myself and haven't talked to her since. I miss her every day, but I stay busy enough to not cloud my thoughts. When I had to return to England after staying with my wife in America last month, the last moments of holding her before I went through the security gates. Last week my 4-year-old approached me with one of her toys that shot a rubber chicken out of a cannon and asked me to film her shooting it across the room into a little tub. She intended to shoot it from a table onto this small target and wanted me to film it in slow motion on my camera. I was game and helped her set it up and tried to get everything in frame. The first couple of shots went long, but she got closer and closer and she was getting more excited as she was about to zero in on her range. She finally said, "Okay, I got this, Dad," so we fire up the slow-mo, do a super loud countdown and prepare for the launch. But she has misloaded the chicken, and instead we have this footage of the chicken just impotently limping out of the cannon and thudding onto the table. We were so hyped for a launch that this anticlimax just caused hysterical laughter from both of us. We could not do anything. I was just laying on the ground crying in laughter. My wife comes over to figure out what is going on and discovers an incoherent husband. The 4-year-old tells her version of events happily. Wife thinks we're crazy. It was the greatest feeling ever. I wish I could bottle it for years to come. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.